tethered to chemo tubes and still working out. Who can forget this champion and how she coped with cancer and continues to inspire so many people? On today's Morning Medical Update, we catch up with our favorite CrossFit fighter. And good morning. It is Friday, July 28th. I'm Jessica Lovell. We are inside the Dulcie Simons Jr. Family Broadcast Studio. Thank you so much for being here with us on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Today, we are heading back to the kitchen for another Foodie Friday recipe. It sizzles, and it's pretty healthy. Dr. Dana Hawkinson joins us with the latest on the COVID-19 numbers. Plus, it's Sarcoma Awareness Month. Lisa Fosnough joins us to talk about beating sarcoma and why she is giving back to those facing the same challenge. And her orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Kyle Sweeney, is with us today. He replaced Lisa's femur with a cadaver bone, so we're going to hear from you and talk all about that today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, we love getting your questions, of course, so please start sending those in right now. You can reach us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the Medical News Network. You can find links to those right there on your screen. Well, you may not be as familiar with the cancer sarcoma. This cancer starts in bone or muscle. Back in 2019, Lisa Fosnough was a 43-year-old wife and mother of three who was diagnosed with osteosarcoma. We caught up with her back then as she underwent treatment. Check this out.
This is what I feel like keeps me going. It's my time away where I don't have to think about really what's going on with me. And it's a good release for me. It's important for me to put it out on my social media to show people that I'm still working and I'm fighting. I want people to know that I'm fighting and I'm fighting hard.
Everything about it is special, just like Lisa. She has got osteosarcoma, a rare case of a type of bone cancer.
It was a hard moment. We had to tell them right away. They're 16, 14, and 11, so they knew something was going on. Sorry. I want to make sure I'm there for them. This isn't going to define who I am, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to overcome this.
And if it inspires someone else, they look at me and say, she can do that while doing chemo. I can get up off the couch.
Lisa, welcome. It is truly the power of positively. And I have to tell you, that video simply never gets old. We kind of brought that video out the other day, and it's just watching it every single time. It just kind of helps us understand why she inspires so many people. I have to say, I snoozed right through my workout today. So when I see that and know how hard you worked, it's really incredible. So thank you for sharing your story then and today. So tell me, did you do that through your entire treatment? Tell people a little bit about that.
I did my best. It got harder as my treatment went along. It got a lot harder. I had no idea how much harder it would be, but it was one of those things that kind of kept me going. And I kind of figured as long as I could keep doing that, I felt some normalcy in my life. So as the treatment, the chemotherapy went on, again, it became more challenging and more difficult, but I did as much as I could do, yes, to stay active every day.
So take us back. How did you first know you were sick? What were doctors telling you?
Well, I first noticed something on my leg. It wasn't really a bump. It was more of a raised spot on my quadricep muscle. And it was something to me that just was abnormal. It wasn't something that I normally see on my body. And so I went to my doctors, and for a while they kind of put it off as a deep bone bruise. What I had was so rare that I think the thought of me actually having what it ended up being was very unlikely. So it was one of those things that I finally pushed and asked for what would the next step be if I wanted to find out what it was on my leg. And that's when they sent me in for an ultrasound, which then led to an MRI, which then led me to meeting Dr. Sweeney.
Well, let's bring him in right now. Dr. Sweeney, we saw Dr. Ben Powers, your oncologist, in the video. So how did you and Dr. Powers work together to diagnose Lisa with sarcoma, and what is it?
Yeah, so we've got a whole comprehensive team. I mean, Powers and I are part of that, as I'm on the surgical side and he's on the medical oncology. So I actually first met Lisa, and the Initially, we thought it was just an injury when she came in, because that was right. The sarcoma was occurring right where her barbell was hitting her, and we followed it over time, and then it grew, and so we knew that it wasn't just an injury, and did a biopsy, and from there got the diagnosis, and then we brought in Powers and the rest of the sarcoma team.
So is it hard to distinguish sarcoma between other cancers, and why is that?
Yeah, well, first and most importantly, sarcoma is extremely rare. There are not a lot of sarcoma centers around the country, and the reason is because it's so rare. And so I think its rarity in and of itself makes it difficult, both from a standpoint of how does a physician know to look for it, and second of all, once you have the tissue, how does a pathologist actually come up with a good diagnosis? So you have to have a specialty center that's going to be able to handle that kind of unique rarity.
So is that why sarcoma is often called the forgotten cancer?
That's right, it is. And we don't have as big of fundraising and research, and a big part of that is numbers. I mean, you think about breast cancer and prostate cancer and lung cancer, things that are a lot more common. You just don't have that sort of large volume of people that experience it like you do sarcoma, which is much smaller.
So Lisa, I want to, we'll show some pictures, because I through it all, you had a huge army of people supporting you. You're warriors, I think. So I want to show some pictures of that. But walk us through your treatment plan. What was it like from the moment you got that diagnosis to really kind of tackling this head on?
I think that when I can actually remember the exact moment when Dr. Sweeney called me, and I had to lay on my bedroom floor while he was giving me my news, because it was so overwhelming to hear such a thing, that just to hear the words that you have cancer is devastating enough. So it was amazing to me how quickly they put me right in to meet with Dr. Powers, and then how quickly my treatment was scheduled. It was just boom, 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 and it happened right away within the next week or so that things were happening. And so I started my chemotherapy, I'd say within 2 weeks of getting my diagnosis, my chemotherapy started. And that lasted, I had 6 rounds, which happened every 3 weeks for the 6 rounds.
So how important, and I want to pull up that video of you hooked up to the chemo machine. I think it's just unbelievable to see your energy and you pushing through. But how important was physical activity to your mental health? We talk about mental health being so key to getting people through times like this, but it's really what kicked off the hashtag Strong Like Lisa campaign, and you were putting out different social media challenges to friends and family and the whole community to do things like this. So how important was it?
It was huge for me. It was something, working out for me has always been something that's a huge part of my life and very important. So for me, this was something that I wanted to maintain. And I quickly had to come to the realization that this was something that was happening to me. There was nothing that I could do to change it. And so it was a matter of, am I going to curl up in a ball and cry in a corner, or am I going to try and tackle this head on? And so I went to try and tackle it head on. And for me, doing that was staying active and working out. And I had such a great community of support from my family and friends and my gym community that kept me going. That was really important to me. And that was something that I knew I needed to keep going throughout this whole process. And there were many, many days where I did not feel like getting up and doing anything. And sometimes that was maybe only walking out to the mailbox. But for me to get up and get outside was very important for not only my physical, but a lot for my mental health.
Dr. Sweeney, Lisa's now in remission, right?
Yeah, she is.
What does that mean for her over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, so we're going to be following Lisa for a while. So she comes in I think we're up to every 6 months now. If I remember correctly. Yeah, we're up to every 6 months. She's coming in for CT scans just to make sure that we can catch anything that comes up. But the further that she gets out from the diagnosis and the further she gets out from the treatment, the less likely it is that she's going to recur. But we do follow her out for 10 years.
All right. It's not all business, though, between the two of you. You two have quite a bond. Can you guys pull up that picture of you two? Because you've kind of got him on the hook now, Lisa, for a while. Can you guys pull up the picture? There you go.
Yeah.
I think this describes you two. You guys met, and now this is where we are.
I would agree. I think Lisa and I have a good relationship, and it's been incredible to get to know not just Lisa but her whole family. I'm on TikTok now. I've never seen the video, but we did it was a variation of a burpee, I think, that we were doing.
So you're our new TikTok doc.
I think so,
it.
yeah.
I like it.
Yes.
I like you keeping him on his toes, Lisa.
I feel like it's something fun and something different and that I can do with him. It makes definitely my appointments a little bit more fun.
Love it. Okay, we're going to learn more about Lisa's journey to raise awareness of the forgotten cancer, sarcoma, and how Dr. Sweeney took 9 inches of Lisa's femur out and then replaced it with a cadaver bone. Is that right?
It's cadaver bone as well as her fibula.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And we know some of you have questions about sarcoma that we may not be able to get to today, and so we placed a link on top of your screen at the address, the bit.ly/MMU sarcoma, so you can click on that and get more information. I want to get to a community question, though, from Molly. Dr. Sweeney, was Lisa's treatment plan typical?
That's a yes and a no. Okay. So, I mean, it's hard to go typical with these extremely rare cases. So she had an osteosarcoma, which in and of itself is rare, and then she had a rare variant of that rare disease. And so the traditional treatment for that is chemotherapy and surgery. Normally we do chemotherapy, a break for surgery, and more chemo, but because Lisa was so healthy and tolerating the chemo so well, we did all of the chemo up front. So there was a little bit of variation there, and that was led by Ben Powers, who did that. And that allowed for an increased chance that we were going to heal the reconstruction because we didn't have to go back on chemotherapy after the surgery. So I think that was fantastic, and a big part of that is because Lisa's in such good health and took care of herself.
That was my question. She doesn't look like, I mean, she just looks like the pillar of health. She's young, she's active, and then you got this rare cancer on top of it. It's hard to, what should people be looking for or thinking about, especially someone like Lisa who probably knows her own body really well?
Yeah, I mean, it's really if you have a steadily growing mass, or if you're having consistent pain in an area, you just need to get that checked out. And in Lisa's case, there was, we thought it was pain related to exercise.
Right.
And we had reason to believe that's what it was, and that led to a workup with an X-ray, which found, the mass, and we kind of went from there. So, it's just taking care of yourself. It's going to your, physician, your primary care physician appointments regularly. It's asking questions, and it's not ignoring things.
Judy wants to know, can sarcoma arise as a result of trauma? You mentioned the barbell on the thigh. Would that cause that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It does not. So trauma is not going to necessarily cause sarcoma. We don't know why people get sarcoma still for the most part. We know some genetic mutations. We know radiation exposure can cause it. But as far as trauma is concerned, we aren't aware of that being a risk factor.
All right, keep your questions coming in. We're going to get a quick check on our COVID count with Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control, Dr. Dana Hawkinson. Good morning. Happy Friday to you.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
It's Good Friday.
Yeah, right.
It's good in the fact that our cases are down, our active cases. We have 28 active infections with 4 in the ICU and 2 of those on the ventilator, still 12 in that additional recovery period. But hopefully we are starting to see a trend now of less acute infections. Hopefully we can continue this trend. Certainly it's only been a couple days, so we'll see how things go throughout the weekend.
All right, couple questions. More than 7,500 Kansans have tested positive for coronavirus in the past week. What does that tell us about where we might be heading?
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes directly to what I was just saying, is hoping the trend would go down. But as we know, as we continue to have increasing numbers of cases, at least those that are officially identified, and not even including the ones that are done at home, which I know those are happening too. We could actually continue to see an uptrend in the hospitalizations. We know that nationally there continues to be an increased trend of hospitalizations. So it is concerning, and that is why we continue to endorse vaccination, being up to date with vaccination, getting tested early, and then of course if you do meet that criteria and are high risk for hospitalization, getting on Paxlovid as well.
All right, on topic today, high COVID complication rates in sarcoma patients.
Yeah.
Why these particular patients?
Well, I think if you look at this article in particular, they were looking at those patients also that had been receiving chemotherapy. We know chemotherapy is a significant risk factor, giving you immunosuppression. I think that is one of the main drivers of that for sure.
All right, millions still without sense of smell or taste after COVID-19. We've heard about that from the beginning. One expert said this could be considered a new public health crisis. Is that true?
I think we have to put this in the continued category of long COVID, and we know long COVID is going to be and is a significant health crisis, not only for Americans but people around the world. We know that people are going to continue to seek medical care for these long COVID symptoms, whatever they may be. And so, yeah, I think it is a crisis. It is more of like a chronic crisis, as we've seen with diabetes and heart disease, lung disease. I think we are all expecting, as COVID cases continue to increase, that we will continue to see long COVID, and it certainly could have a significant impact on healthcare and healthcare delivery.
All right, hang tight. We'll get back with you with some community questions here in just a few moments. Well, as we have all learned today, sarcoma is a rare cancer. But what does that mean? How many people does it really impact? The National Cancer Institute estimates about 13,000 people will be diagnosed with soft tissue sarcomas this year. For bone and joint cancer, the NCI anticipates nearly 4,000 new cases this year. We are back with our guest, sarcoma survivor Lisa Fosnough, and her orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Kyle Sweeney. So the National Cancer Institute, Dr. Sweeney, believes that the number of sarcoma cases is probably underestimated. Why is that?
Well, it's a rare disease.
Right.
It comes back to that, and it's also difficult to diagnose from a pathology standpoint. So when you get a biopsy and you send it into the pathologist, do they know what they're looking at? And luckily here we've got fellowship-trained pathologists that do know what they're looking at. And so the thought is that when you get these rare diseases, you may not be diagnosing it correctly, and then it doesn't get filed correctly.
Makes sense. Okay, so what's the prognosis for patients like Lisa and others?
Yeah, that's heavily dependent on what the sarcoma is, and that's part of what makes this difficult. Is not only is it a rare group of diseases, it's a broad group of diseases. So the number of sarcomas is in the dozens on both soft tissue and bone sarcoma. So a lot of it is really dependent on what type it is, how aggressive it is, and what it's how it behaves.
All right, so you replaced Lisa's bone with a cadaver bone. Tell us why and what that looked like. And I think we have some images as well here. Maybe you can show us what we're looking
at. So what you're seeing is a couple x-rays there. The one on the left is right after surgery. And what you're looking at is there's a plate on the side. That's the thing that'll stand out the most. That's just kind of provides stability. And if I don't know if it's projecting well, but you should see a bone within a bone there. So there's a thin strip of bone right smack dab in the middle of a larger bone. What that is, the larger bone, we actually go through a company that matches folks by their size. And so we found a cadaver matched bone, and then we're able to take measurements and make a cut in the operating room. And then I make a trough in the middle of the bone.
Okay.
We put her other fibula, harvested her fibula.
Can you guys put that back up there so I can see that? Because on the right side was today,
right? Side is, recently. We put the fibula in, and then that fibula actually gets plugged into her blood vessel, so the fibula is alive. So it's dead bone on the outside, and on the inside is a live fibula, and that's what allows you have living biology to generate healing.
Wow. Lisa, how's the bone doing?
It's great. It's doing really good. I'm getting stronger. I feel a little stronger, honestly, every day. But I don't know that I could say that it feels normal, but it is my new normal, and I'm good with that. I'll take it.
You'll take it. You'll take it right on down to the CrossFit workout facility, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things you have to remember with these surgeries is, it's not just that I'm removing bone. There's a lot of soft tissue that's removed. So Lisa lost a significant amount of muscle with this surgery as well, because the tumor grows into the muscle. And as part of a cancer surgery, you have to be outside of that tumor, taking healthy tissue with the unhealthy tissue.
So can the muscle grow back?
It cannot. No. So this is one of those surgeries that does have a significant impact on somebody's quality of life and their ability to walk and be active in the way they want, which is what makes Lisa even that much more, impressive, is to see what she's been able to accomplish despite, going through that.
She's
kind of
quite
treatment.
the specimen.
Yeah.
She really is. So what would the alternative have been if you didn't have that cadaver bone or do the limb salvage surgery?
Yeah, so there are a number of things that we can do. That I felt like was the best strategy here, given the defect. One thing you can do is we've got what we call non-invasive growing rods. It's kind of hard to describe without a picture, but essentially what we can do is put a rod in, make a cut in the bone, and then that rod through magnets slowly shortens, and as it shortens, it transports the bone, and behind the area where it's transporting, the bone slowly heals. And so it heals as the bone's moving, and then you can dock it at the top, and then it basically generates a bridge of your own bone that comes up using magnets to shorten that rod. So that's one of the things we can do. In kids, I think, we can do rotation plasties, and that's where I literally take a leg and we turn it around 180 degrees backwards, and their ankle becomes their knee. And
Wow.
so I've got some kids out there that are running and doing whatever they want to do on this prosthetic. And so that's not necessarily salvaging the entire limb, but what it is doing is salvaging their ability to participate in the activities that they want.
So she's healing the way you want her to heal.
She is healing the way we want her to heal, yeah. And we'll follow that over time and make sure there's, if there's any issues that arise, which there hasn't been, and we'll knock on wood, is that, we do have options as far as trying to fix those issues in the future.
All right, I want to show us the video of what you're doing now, because you were rowing in your kitchen, Lisa. We could pull that video up of you rowing.
Yes.
Is this how you stay active when you're not out at the gym? And how does this help? How does this help you feel?
Well, this was only about 2 weeks after my surgery. We decided to buy a rower. I couldn't do stairs or anything, so it ended up in our kitchen, and used my son's skateboard to put my leg on. That was, for me, it was just a way to get me back active and doing some cardio after my surgery. I was not able to put any weight on my leg for a little over 4 months. So that was kind of the best thing that I could do.
Did you have to slow her down at all, or was she doing everything right to get back to doing this right away?
Yeah, I think that some of our visits were more confessionals than anything else, which was her showing me pictures or videos and saying, I did this, and me going, oh no. No, I think she, something like that was just, when I saw that, I thought that was just one of the most clever things in the world.
I love a skateboard.
I never would have thought to put a skateboard under your foot in order to row. It just wasn't, was not included in my medical training. And so those kind of ideas and thoughts that she have is really part of the pleasure.
See, you don't know everything, Doc.
Yeah,
you don't know everything.
You do not.
All right, so just really quick, I want to get to something pretty cool here in a second, but just what kind of sarcomas? Are there different types of sarcomas?
Yeah, there's a lot of different types of sarcomas. They're mainly grouped into soft tissue and bone.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a very large number.
Okay, so Lisa, the hashtag Strong Like Lisa has really taken off the past 3 years. You inspired challenges on social media. I remember that right when we met you. It was so cool. Everyone was taking a part in it, and now you're helping to give back. How are you helping to give back?
Well, I created the Strong Like Lisa Foundation, which is something that's been really important to me. When you go through something like this, there's a part of me that thought I'm never going to be able to say thank you enough to Dr. Sweeney and to Dr. Powers, and really to everyone that helped me along my journey. And really creating this foundation was the greatest way that I could say thank you to everyone. And so I decided to create this, and in hopes to raise money that I could give back to the KU Sarcoma Center and the Cancer Center, mainly to Dr. Powers and Dr. Sweeney.
And so you had the Sarcoma Walk this past summer. Tell us about it. And I think we've got some cool pictures of you guys having fun out there and raising lots of money. There's you and Dr. Powers, Dr. Sweeney, front and center.
Yes, that was right before the walk and run started. And that was honestly the most wonderful day. I had really no idea the support that we would get for that during that race. It was just amazing how many people showed up and showed their support, and people that couldn't come that donated. It was fantastic. And having Dr. Sweeney and Dr. Powers there with me was something that was so important, and I kept waiting to have both of them in the same area with me at the same time. So it was great for me.
How special has it been for you to be along this journey with her?
I mean, it's indescribable. I mean, it's why you go into medicine, but to the nth degree. The relationships you develop with people, and then you can see not only how well someone does, with their treatment, but to go above and beyond and to be so successful is incredible.
So she's doing well. We say she's in remission as if this is behind her, but it sounds like sarcoma is going to be a part of her life in such a positive way moving forward. Right, Lisa?
Absolutely. And it's given me an opportunity to meet so many other patients and so many other survivors. That was the one thing I didn't expect with this foundation, was having the opportunity to meet so many different people and hopefully make an impact in their life in some way. And it's such a wonderful feeling and a great opportunity to have a community of sarcoma patients and survivors where we all get to know each other a little bit better. And hopefully this foundation will help make that possible.
And you were back here a couple of weeks ago to hand over something to both of your beloved doctors. Tell us about that.
Yes, I was able to present them with a $30,000 check, the money that we raised from our very first event and our first inaugural walk run that we will continue to do every year. So it was a great thing to be able to give that to them and be able to give back to the University of Kansas Cancer Center and Health Systems. I honestly can't say enough wonderful things, not only about Dr. Sweeney and Dr. Powers, because they're amazing. I mean, they hold a special place in my heart that I really is indescribable, but the staff that works at every location that I've been at, the care and the empathy that those people have every single day for patients like myself, it's something that I don't think that everyone has in them. It's something that I don't know if it's something that KU teaches their employees to have, or if it's just something that these people naturally have. And it is a wonderful thing, because bedside manner and compassion is something that is so needed and so appreciated.
Well, that's got to make you feel darn good.
Yeah, it does.
Where would that money go to help folks with sarcoma battling it now or in the future?
Yeah, well, we don't know yet. So right now it goes into the Cancer Centers Fund, and then as we have projects that come up, whether that's support for patients in their journey or that's contributing to research, is something that we are working on now.
All right, Strong Like Lisa making its mark already. Check and see if we have any reporter questions on the line today. All right, Dr. Hawkinson, are you ready for your monkeypox question of the day? Yeah. Yen Liang, he is asking a question related to monkeypox. What are the preventative measures we can take against monkeypox in our daily lives?
Well, I mean, the first thing is vaccination, if they offer vaccination widely. Right now, it's not being offered widely. Second of all, we know monkeypox is really spread through that close contact, so it's really vitally important to understand who you are being in close contact with. We know the vast majority of these cases are in those people that are in those close contacts, skin-to-skin contact. It can also be spread through clothing or, say, bedding, anything that has had the drainage from those wounds, those pustules, those lesions from monkeypox. So it's really just understanding who are you being in close contact with, and keeping in contact with them for some amount of time, just so you understand if they've developed symptoms, or if you have, you can continue to talk and let them know. But mostly it's going to be vaccination. Again, vaccination is not widely available for most people at this point in time, but monkeypox is very difficult to spread. Again, it is spread through close contact, intimate skin-to-skin on contact. So really, that is really what you have to understand about the spread and the transmission of the disease.
All right, Jamie wants to know, Dr. Sweeney, if you have a sarcoma diagnosis, with it being so rare, how important is it to get a second opinion?
I think it is important. First of all, I would say sarcomas should be treated at high-volume sarcoma centers, and we have the research to back that up, and people do better at high-volume centers. So I don't think that this is something that you necessarily want treated at a low-volume area. And anytime you're uncomfortable, or anytime that you feel like a second opinion or another set of eyes on this is important, I always encourage that, whether it's my own patients wanting second opinions or it's patients coming to me for second opinions. I always think that that's a good idea.
All right, I want to get some final thoughts from our great guest today. Lisa, I want to start with you. Just what do you want everyone to know, and also where can they find more information about Strong Like Lisa?
Sure. For me, one of the most important things that I tell people is really talk about the importance of your overall physical health, mentally and physically, how important that is for your everyday. You really never know what tomorrow's going to hold for you, and what someone might tell you, how the quality of your life is going to change, and physically how drastically different things could be for you in the future. So I stress that to my kids all the time, staying healthy and how important that is. And it's not just because you may have a sarcoma someday, it's because you really don't know what each day, the next day will lead for you. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm talking about when I talk to someone about my foundation. And then really, if anyone would like to get involved or would like to make a donation, you can go to stronglikelisa.com or to my Instagram at stronglikelisa. Those are a couple of great places to kind of see what we have been doing and what we're about and what we look forward to doing in the future.
We put some information there on the screen for you to Lisa's website. Lisa, it's so great to see you. We're so glad you're in remission and doing well, but we look forward to seeing more of you, and we're just happy to have you part of the KU and the Cancer Center family.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for all you're doing. Dr. Sweetie, final thoughts.
My final thoughts would just be to echo Lisa, is to check out the Strong Like Lisa Foundation. I mean, you're going to find a community of people, and most importantly, you're going to find inspiration. And I think that she has been just absolutely phenomenal in how she's dealt with everything, and not just beat it, but excelled and is now helping others. And so I think that that's just such an inspiration, and I would encourage you to take a look.
And I'm sorry to say, I see a lot more handstands in your future and lots of sarcoma walks
I don't
and runs.
know. Lisa has told me that I'm done with physical activity, but we'll see. We'll see.
Don't hurt yourself. All right, Dr. Sweetie, thank you. Always great to have you. Dr. Hawkinson, final thoughts.
Yeah, just a great story, great guest. Thank you so much to both of you. We know that continued questions about boosters for COVID are coming. Hopefully we'll have some recommendations soon from ACIP and the CDC. Otherwise, if you aren't up to date with your COVID boosters, please go get up to date. As far as monkeypox goes, we know cases are being identified every day. We have about 4,900 in the United States right now. It is very difficult to transmit and get, but we will keep you up to date on the latest information from that as well.
All right. Thanks to all of our guests today. We have started a new segment called Foodie Fridays. Today we're making a fun fajita salad. So get out there, make it a great weekend, and we'll see you back here Monday at 8.
Thank you for joining me. Today we'll be making a skinny fajita salad. This recipe will take about 55 minutes, which will include 30 minutes of marinating time. We'll be using some fresh bell peppers, nice and colorful, with some onions, some leafy greens. Adds lots of fiber and antioxidants to your diet. So we'll start off by marinating our flank steak. Put it in a shallow bowl. Add your olive oil, some fresh garlic, some great things that are really, really good for your body. Makes the body happy. Some cumin, a little bit of red pepper flakes, and some chili powder, and a little onion powder for flavor. Now what you want to do is you'll want to turn your flank steak around a couple times. Make sure you get that marinated in there really, really well. And then you can set that aside, generally about 30 minutes, but you can also let it set overnight to let that marinade soak in a little bit more. Now we're going to step over to the range, and we're going to cook off our peppers and onions and then our flank steak. For the next step, we want to saute our peppers and onions with a little bit of olive oil, medium-high heat. We want to cook them for 3 to 5 minutes, just so they start to soften up a little bit. We're going to add a little fresh lime juice to that. And then for flavoring, a little bit of fresh cumin, chili powder, and a touch of salt. When you get your peppers and onions right where you like them, you want to put those on a side plate, set them aside. You want to keep your heat going. Add just a little bit more oil for the flank steak. And we're going to drop this right in here on top with all this beautiful marinade. You want to cook about 3-4 minutes on each side, depending on your doneness. Today we're going to cook it about medium rare. The nice thing with lean cuts of meat, they're a little bit healthier, not as much fat. You can also substitute a skirt or a hanger steak if flank wasn't available. These are also great to do on the grill to get that barbecue flavor. A little bit of smoke added in there sometimes gives that a little extra touch that makes it really nice. Now that we've got that right where we'd like it, we'll bring that right over here. So we've got a nice piece of flank steak here. We're going to want to cut this on the bias. And depending on how many people you're feeding or how big of a salad, I always like to cut mine down the middle first so I can use it with a little bit smaller portions. And there we have our beautiful flank steak, a little pink in the center, ready to go. And now we have our finished skinny fajita salad, our nice leafy greens, our peppers, onions for the antioxidants, our heart-healthy avocados, a little dollop of sour cream. You can also use a little bit of salsa for dressing if you'd like. Happy eating.
More than 1 million people in Kansas and Missouri have lung problems. I'm Jessica Lovell. Monday is World Lung Cancer Day. Join us as we talk about the new treatments and trials for lung diseases. We'll see you at 8 on these social media channels.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and open mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.